All right, in this section of the lesson, we will be looking at the group by clause, and this is our part one. Later on, we are going to be seeing the part two where we need to start using the pgadmin to practice. Now, the group by allows us to aggregate columns per some categories, and for that, we are going to explore some of these ideas with some simple examples. Now, let's take, for example, that we have a column or a table of this having two columns, right? I chose to use this category here so that we possibly know that this is the category column. And this data value can be anything, all right? It can be the cost. Maybe this can be items, item A, and we have another item with different costs, right? And we need to choose a categorical column to group by. This is very, very important that we always need to choose the category column to group by. Now, these categorical columns are non-continuous, right? But keep in mind that they can still be numerical. For example, when we were using our pgadmin, that's a DVT rentals database, we came across some of the rental rates in our record. And you notice that we had repetitive values there. So these rental rates can be our categorical column, all right? Also remember that when we apply the unique or the distinct function, and in that column we got some certain values there. So we are going to be seeing that in practice so that you get to understand what a categorical column will be like. All right, so they are usually non-continuous. Please take note of this key point. And let's say, for example, that we may have something like cabin class categories on a ship. For example, we have class 1, class 2, and class 3. Right, if we happen to check this table here, and then when we apply the group by, this is what happens behind the hood. First of all, it sorts out the column. It goes into the column and then brings out another category, and then opens up this category, and then it's when you apply the aggregate functions, this is the result that is going to display, right? It's going to group the category column into a single value. And as you said before, that the aggregate functions takes in multiple inputs and then print out single values. Now, we are applying an aggregate function to that table. So it groups out the category column to say, single it out as A, B, and C. Now, when we apply the sum value, it goes into the category of A and then sums the data value, as we said here, to give us 15. It does the same for category B and does the same for C. Now, we can also apply the average function to that same table. So it gives us the average of 15, that's 10 and 5 to give us 7.5, and does that for B and also does that for C. If you apply the count function to it, returns the count of each of these categories. We have 2, 2, and 2 here. So it displays the single result in each category. Now, the syntax for when you want to apply the group by clause, this is the syntax for it. You select a category column. Remember, you need to include the category column when you are selecting it, right? And then you apply the aggregate function here to a data column and from a table to say, and then you apply the group by. Remember, when you are using the group by, you do not need to include the aggregate functions in the group by. You only need to include the categories column, all right? And looking at this, the group by clause must appear right after a from or a where statement. So in this our case, the group by statement is applied after the from statement. And we have another scenario here where we apply the group by after the where clause, the where statement to say. So these are the two places where you can place your group by. It appears either after the from statement, that is if you have not applying a condition using the where statement, and it can also appear after the where. That's if you're applying the where statement or a condition to filter out. Now let's check this out. Say select, this is a category column we are selecting, and then we are also aggregating the data column from a table, and we are grouping by the category column. So in the select statement, columns must either have an aggregate function or be in a group by call. So I hope you understand that statement. That's in the select statement, columns must either have an aggregate function. In our case, we have the aggregate functions here. It can be sum of this or be in the group by call. So let's take, for example, that this is, we have here select company, select division, and then the sum of the cells, right? Where sum is the aggregate functions from the finance table, where we are grouping by the categorical column, which is the company and division. So in the select statement, column must either have an aggregate, as you said earlier, function or be in the group by call. So select company, for example, we have here to select company, division, and then the sum of the cells from the finance table, where division in marketing. Remember we talked about the in clause, right? The in statement. Where it is in marketing, transport, and we are grouping by the company and division. So where statement should not refer to the aggregate result, all right? When you are using the where statement, you should not be referring it to the aggregate result. For example, imputing cells inside here, okay? We are going to be looking more we are going to be learning how to use the having clause to filter out results. Now, let's check this other syntax out. We are selecting company and the sum of cells. Remember, this is the aggregate result, the sum of cells. And we are selecting company from finance table, and we are grouping by company, all right? So this therefore means that the company is our categorical column, and then we order by some cells, sum of the cells. Note that when you are ordering by, if you are to order by any value here, it should also be contained in the column you are selecting from, and it should be exactly, you should always apply this aggregate function here. You don't just say order by cells the same way you used here. Remember, this is the aggregate functions you're applying here. You're also going to apply the same here, such that when you are filtering out this data from your, maybe from your table, the finance table, then the result is going to have a company, which is going to be a categorical column, and then it's going to give you another column called the sum of the cells. So in each of the categories called company, we are going to have sum of the cells for that category. Now, if you are ordering by the sum of the cells, that is when the result is going to be ordered for you, right? It's going to be a sorting order. So if you want to sort result based on the aggregate, make sure to reference the entire function, not just putting up your cells here. All right, we can apply the limit value. Let's say we want to only sort out the cells, getting the sum of the cells in each of the categories of the companies from the finance table. And then we are ordering by the sum of the cells, and we have to limit our results to 5. This is the syntax to use. Please take note of the order of our statements. First of all, we are using the select statement from our finance table, and we say the group by will always come after the from or the where statement, and then thereafter we talked about order by. So order by should come later on, then we can then limit our result by 5. So the limit statement should always be coming at the end. Now, in our next lecture, we are going to go to the PG admin to begin to practice what we've learned so far. So thank you so much, and